Chapter 12. September gave way to October. Weeks went by, the investigation of the Seraphim consumed the Bat family's nights, and Cassandra's continued English and religious education overtook her days. As horrid as the Seraphim's methods proved, a small part of her felt satisfied in the way it strongly separated the two of them and their convictions to belief. Or what she thought she could turn into belief, anyway. Stephanie bought a companion book to read along with the Bible at a second-hand store, which felt like it helped. The two stopped going directly in order and instead would jump from book to book, with Stephanie reading from the companion after a given chapter. They also began alternating between Stephanie's house and Wayne Manor, so it was easy for Stephanie to spend time with Tim afterwards. It seemed the two recovered from their argument on the rooftop. "You know, I was really expecting this to be boring," Stephanie chuckled as she shut the book at the end of one of their readings. "But, hey, you don't stick around for thousands of years, cause wars, and get 1 billion+ followers by being a dull read. How are you feeling at this point?" Cassandra thought back on all they'd gone over together. Indeed, God sometimes proved a frightening figure. The exile from the garden, the flood, the command of Abraham to sacrifice his son. But she also remembered what followed that. All the God's people used to worship asked for sacrifice. This God told him it was just a test. God did indeed seem to be good, sometimes even loving, toward his servants. But she noticed such a stark difference between his behavior some of the time in comparison to other occasions. Stephanie said, "Remember, these are stories. Stories written a long time ago. It doesn't all cross the cultural timeline very well." She looked down at the companion and muttered, "And you better agree with me." And then there was Jesus. There wasn't any doubt in Cassandra's mind. She liked Jesus. Stephanie went to great lengths to give him praise, and stressed every one of his seemingly impossible feats. He seemed so dedicated to his vocation, but did so without the violence of the world she was living in. Still, she knew the most significant part of his life was apparently his death, and she was left to wonder why it would be so important when they got there. "I like a lot of it," Cassandra said. "Especially Jesus. I like him best. Yeah, he's most people's favorite. I've heard some non-Christians even like him too. But I don't know about other parts," Cassandra said. "So much dying. And sometimes God is kind, sometimes vengeful. So much to understand. It's not going to get any easier either." The two looked up to see Tim as he stood in the doorway. Stephanie put up her guard. "Careful here, Tim." He raised his hands, open-palmed. "I'm not here to make trouble. I'm just here to share what I know, that's all." "He's fine." Cassandra nodded to Tim a little to invite him in. "The simple fact is, if you're going to be Catholic, you're going to be asked to accept a lot of things. Catholics believe some hard, sometimes confusing things, based entirely on faith." Stephanie asked, "More than any other religion?" "Did you ever have communion back when you were going to church regularly?" Tim asked. "Yeah, like once a month, something like that." "Okay, now apply that to every week and assume you're taking it literally. That it isn't representation. It's literally salvation." He paused to let the thought soak in. Catholicism has a lot of that, "it's not a metaphor," talk like that. Can you work with that, Cassie? "Still learning, but maybe." "Just know I like Monsignor Ryan," Cassandra said. "And I like you, and Jesus. I want to be closer to all of you." The three quietly considered this for what seemed a few minutes before Tim chuckled a little and said, "I don't know. It might be heretical, but I could maybe take you to adoration." Cassandra looked toward Stephanie, who shrugged. "What's that?" "Like I said, Catholics think that Christ is literally present in the communion wafer. So, once in a while, a piece of it is put out for parishioners to observe, pray to, and, yes, worship." Stephanie asked, "Isn't that idolatry?" "Not if you believe it's literally him," Tim said. "It's a weird line of thought if you don't grow up with it." "Oh, am I kidding? I did grow up with it, and it's weird." "But we do live in a world of supermen, man-bats, and green magic-y ring-using space cops," Stephanie said. "Heck, we saw someone doing real magic a few weeks ago. Maybe I should try and convert now. The whole bread turning into flesh thing is starting to sound pretty tame." The two laughed. Cassandra exchanged looks with them both. "Can she go in if she hasn't decided if it's a good fit yet? We don't want to break any rules here." "I'll look into it," Tim said. "If you want to go at all, that is." "What would I do?" Cassandra asked. "You just go in, face the host, talking about whatever's on your mind with God. If you just peek in, it looks like a lot of people just sitting around quietly doing nothing at all. If it's done right, you can hear a pin drop. Still struggling a bit, Cassandra asked, what would it accomplish? If you can be there, like that, and say you felt God in the room with you, it's probably a sign Catholicism's a good route to take. If you can't, maybe you just gotta shoot for something less ancient and mystical. Stephanie asked, can we put a timeline on this or anything? Couple weeks, Tim said. St. Michael's does it the first Friday of every month. Is that going to be enough time? Seems like a big test to try out so soon. He shrugged. She doesn't have to decide right now. Maybe it'll just tell you guys if you need to change strategies or whatever. Both of them looked toward Cassandra, who contemplated their words for a little longer before she said, I want to try. Sounds good, Tim said. It might be a little imposing, but nothing worse than Arkham, promise. That time, he did get a little laugh out of Cassandra. He turned towards Stephanie. Have you gotten past the Last Supper yet? Working our way there, Stephanie said. You'll want to do that. The crucifixion and the resurrection, Tim said. I don't know that adoration's going to make a whole lot of sense without those. He stepped forward, hugged Stephanie, and kissed her on the forehead. I'll let you two get back to work. Tell me goodbye before you leave tonight. I will. She smiled as he stepped out. Wow, he was actually pretty useful today. Yes, Cassandra's eyes were turned down. I hope it works. Stephanie gave her a look. Everything okay? Just... Cassandra hesitated. Like the way he is with you, she said. Sometimes I want that too. Her cheeks started to redden. Still never really dated. Don't even know how, but I want to. I think, at least. Yeah, but he's your stepbrother. Both of them burst out laughing. No, I know what you mean. Stephanie patted her on the back. But I also remember you told me that it didn't go great that time you tried with Superboy. No, Cassandra said. He's good, I liked him. But something was missing. Felt like... Don't know, like I was forcing myself. One normalizing topic at a time, Cassie, Stephanie said. Right now you're learning about religion. When that's over with, I'll teach you how to talk to boys and break every rule out of modesty this book has to offer. Hold me to it. And again, they both laughed. It doesn't really say that, does it? Cassandra asked. It doesn't say not to love others, does it? No, Stephanie told her. It doesn't say we shouldn't love. It says we should love each other a lot, no matter what it takes. It's called the Good Book for a reason. And in that moment, more than any before, Cassandra was sure. She was on a journey to find God and his son Jesus. And she felt confident she was headed in the right direction.